Hello everyone and welcome back to the Tom Colohue channels, where we're going to be going in depth today on what's going on with Vince McMahon, the networks and TV-14. Thank you immediately, Brandon, for subscribing on Twitch for a 12th month in total. Hello to you as well. We're also going to be speaking a little bit about the difference between things being booked for Sasha Banks and things being booked for Mercedes Varnado and why there is a differentiation between the two, and of course answering your questions as best we can. For those who don't know me, my name is Tom Colohue. I'm a pro wrestling journalist and reporter who has covered such in-depth topics as Where Was Sasha Banks on a number of occasions, the return schedule for Becky Lynch, Alexa Bliss and Bayley, and plenty more, including The Rock, CM Punk, Ronda Rousey and the like. For those who do know me, hi, welcome back. Please jump in with all of your questions and I will get to them as we get through the news. But to start off with, let's talk about what is going on with Vince McMahon and the TV-14 concept. So, with no hyperbole and no clickbait, the WWE is not planning to be TV-14 for this week's Raw. Vince McMahon has put that forward as a concept, but he has also put it forward as something of a threat. The WWE is in an interesting position right now, particularly as regards Vince McMahon himself, where they are struggling to, shall we say, distract the sponsors and the networks away from the fact that the Wall Street Journal keep, setting Vince McMahon on fire, or at least lighting a fire under his arse. With this in mind, the WWE are looking for distractions, or at least Vince McMahon himself is looking for distractions, and what better way to distract than by reintroducing a TV-14 rating that one network, at least, particularly the one that they are advertising it for on Raw, does not want. The USA Network does not want a TV-14 product. Sponsors on the USA Network, and indeed sponsors on Fox, do not necessarily want a TV-14 product. So this is something that runs a risk of offending the sponsors. Now, this is something that's being led by Vince. He is still the head of creative and he still makes the vast majority of these decisions. So, while Vince is in charge, he is putting these plans together. A memo did go out discussing the possibility of going TV-14, but it has not been officially confirmed, and this week is not going to be PG-14 per, well, Andrew Zarian, who of course also first reported that this week would be TV-14. As regards what I'm saying here with sponsors and networks, the WWE are making their point quite clearly. They do have the power to make these changes whenever they so desire. However, it is the networks who have historically prevented them from doing so. PG-13, or just PG-TV, was brought in to appease the USA Network, and it's something that Vince always wanted to move back to in the era of the rise of John Cena and the like. Once he got past the Attitude Era and there was no longer a WCW, they didn't feel the need to compete with anything like that. With this in mind, this feels, or at least it suggests to some people backstage, like the infamous dead cat, where Vince McMahon may be trying to get attention away from him by confusing the sponsors with something that they definitely don't want also. Thank you very much, Michael, for renewing your subscription for a 17th month. I did not realise I have been officially doing this for 18 months now, a year and a half. I believe it was the 11th of January last year that we started on Twitch, and of course we started the YouTube channel a little bit before that. Thank you very much, Michael. So, when it comes to TV-14, they are considering doing so. However, Vince McMahon is the strongest voice. He is not the only voice. Many people disagree with the concept and do not wish to make that change. John Laurinaitis, for example, was always pro-PG TV. Bruce Pritchard is believed to be a fan of TV-14. I'll get there eventually. Paul Heyman, who's being a little more involved in the writing room lately, also a fan of TV-14. But Triple H apparently, and Stephanie, not so keen on the idea. Who will win? Probably Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon usually wins these particular battles. I wouldn't expect him to pick up the loss in this one. Thank you kindly, Bailey, for a 100-bit cheer. which I do believe was within the 5 minutes. Oh, it might be just outside of the 5 minutes. It's just inside of the 5 minutes, meaning that Bailey, between yourself, Michael and Brandon, you've just activated on Twitch a hype train. A wonderful, wonderful hype train. Thank you very kindly for that. It does wonders for advertising on Twitch and really helping to bring people in. And of course, if you'd like to follow over on Twitch, you just got to click follow and you'll get a notification every time we go live with spoiler warning and our Smackdown and pay-per-view watch parties. And if you're watching on YouTube, please remember to hit like and subscribe if you haven't already, as we grow here as well. So before we get to what's going on with Sasha Banks and the split between Sasha Banks and Mercedes Varnado, let's talk a little bit about the questions that have come in so far. Steve on YouTube has said, getting in early doors for my question today, how do you feel these rumoured changes of TV PG to TV-14 would affect WWE's relationship with sponsorships and charities going forwards? Badly. There is no potential positive that comes from this for sponsors and charities, which is one of the reasons I don't see the WWE doing it. One of the biggest reasons why they would not be able to do it now, or why they might change their mind now, is because it got out. If it didn't go out, they could potentially have hidden it. And Simon says, any Sasha Banks news? Updates on that to come just as soon as I've caught up with the chat. Spiderbot says, hi Tom, how go the negotiations between Sasha and the WWE? More on that story soon. Also says, does the WWE still look for the right storyline for Bailey? I uploaded a video on Bailey to YouTube. I want to say yesterday. Let's say yesterday. I'll grab you a link for that and post that in the Twitch and the YouTube. It was uploaded yesterday. So far has, once it loads, about 260 views so far, which is pretty good for the channel, and I'm pretty happy with it. 355, I was completely wrong. 355 views so far. I'll just pop that into the Twitch chat. Did that work? Did I actually grab it? Yes. And I'll pop that into the YouTube chat as well. For anyone interested in the latest update that I have on Bailey. Spider-Boss says, I'm still surprised after Dolph Ziggler's return on Raw. Me too. They kept that one quiet, but to be fair, Dolph doesn't talk. Jaden says, hey Tom, can you explain the stuff about Sasha? Yes, shortly. Spider-Boss says, I wonder how Raw can improve once they go TV-14. I really don't think it will. What it will allow the WWE to do is have more pull-apart brawls and a bit more blood. That's about it. And honestly, a lot of people are giving Cody Rhodes credit for this. It wasn't his call. It had nothing to do with it. Simon asks about Sasha, more on that later. Spiderboss says, my question is, does WWE still plan Liv versus Ronda at SummerSlam, or WWE will add Natalya to take the pin? The plan at current is still Liv Morgan versus Ronda Rousey. Austin, welcome, says the rumours about Io made a tweet about it with a puke face. Yeah, she doesn't agree with the rumours. Also says, since PG-14, we're definitely seeing Brock Roman with blood now, maybe. That would be on pay-per-view, that would be on Peacock. That would not be on USA or SmackDown, so it wouldn't actually change that at all. Simon is also asking about Sasha once again. More on that later. Tom Talks Rubbish, how you doing, mate? Says, big love, Tom, just wrapped an interview with Raj Giri. I hope that was a good one, mate. Hope you enjoyed it. You're certainly picking up a lot of interviews with wrestling media. I'm interested to see what happens next for you. Ghost is here renewing her subscription for a 13th month and shouting the words Team Colohue. Thank you very kindly, Ghost. You also broke the hype train for the first level, meaning that we are now on to level 2. For those who don't know, Twitch hype trains basically put me directly onto the front page of Twitch. Now, not too high up when you're at level 1 or level 2, but certainly it puts me directly onto the front page. Every time so many bits or subscriptions go through, it levels it up, and we get a new 5-minute block in order to go further. The higher we get, the higher we are on the rankings. So some of our strongest growth has come from hype trains. So thank you kindly to everyone renewing their subscriptions as we speak. Spiderboss says, for me, it's kind of weird that every time that news about Vince comes out, news about Sasha comes out right after. It is certainly possible there's a connection. I don't necessarily see it, but the WWE have been known for that before. Michael says, hi Tom. Hello Michael, how are you? And Simon says, is Cowboy Brock and Roman going to be appearing on SmackDown tonight? Roman, I believe, will be. Brock has not been announced and is not in the area to my knowledge. But who can tell? I've not had the latest update there. Jay Quick says, I guess I missed a lot with me not having internet for 2 weeks. Liv Morgan is a SmackDown Women's Champ. Yeah, a lot happened, mate. A lot happened. Money in the Bank went in a different direction than most people expected. Also says, any update on when Charlotte is coming back? I would expect it to return at or right after SummerSlam. I suspect she will be the spoiler who gets in between Liv Morgan and Ronda Rousey to make sure that Liv Morgan leaves with the championship. Simon says, great news on Big E, going to be making a full recovery from his broken neck. Great news indeed. He is one of those people who's just fully deserving of all the good things in life. And this was certainly a huge bit of bad luck that he unfortunately suffered. Fingers crossed he makes a full recovery sooner rather than later. Noob says, hello, how are you doing today? Doing very well, thank you, Noob. Hopefully you are as well. The weekend is coming. I have a birthday party tomorrow, not for myself, naturally, that was last week, but for someone else. So I'm just very, very excited for what comes next. Very excited indeed. Jaden says, I feel like a return is coming tonight. We'll see how that plays out, but it'll be a bit random. 2 weeks before SummerSlam. That said, they've done it with John Moxley before. Well, I should say Dean Ambrose. Hector says, I get that people say that Steph is just a scapegoat and Vince is still in her ear, but wouldn't a decision like TV-14 be up to Stephanie and Nick Khan, considering that Vince technically stepped down as CEO? It's not just in the role of CEO that makes a decision. The head of creative does have the power to make that decision. It is Vince McMahon that this is coming from. Simon is saying TV-14 could attract big sponsors like beer. As beer companies are not actually the biggest sponsors, to be clear. The WWE earn more from Snickers than they would from Budweiser, Stella, Carling put together. Like, genuinely, Snickers has been very good to them. Hypnosis Bro, welcome. Says, hey Tom, what do you think of the Natalya heat? Is it true? I don't believe it. So, Natalya heat is very, very questionable. To my knowledge, there was an altercation. There was a bit of drama backstage. Natalya apologised for it, and everyone moved on with their lives. This was, of course, followed by a number of different wrestling journalists, and of course the IWC basically just guessing and saying, oh, there's major backstage heat, when there was no mention of that whatsoever. Now, if we'll remember, big news was made when Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch had a backstage altercation. Within a week, they'd agreed to disagree, moved on with their lives, and they were using it for storyline purposes. I wouldn't be too surprised if it is mentioned tonight, once again, for storyline purposes, but it has been blown massively out of proportion. Simon says, Brock was awesome on Raw this week, taking out and attacking the Alpha Academy. The Alpha Academy has become sort of the whipping boys on WWE Raw. I like that they're getting airtime, but it's just a bit awkward, isn't it? Pardon me. Notice Bro says, Tom, why did I pop for Brock versus Otis confrontation? Because it's fun. That's the thing as much as anything. Brock Lesnar can make magic with pretty much anyone, and that's proven now. His work with Sami Zayn was great fun. Just great fun. His work with Keith Lee, a very brief amount of work. Also great fun. We're starting to see, or at least less enthusiastic fans of Brock Lesnar are starting to see what he actually has to offer, and as it turns out, it's a lot. Sean says, hello Tom, how are you tonight? Sure you've seen it all over social media, but your thoughts on Cora Jade's heel turn? Necessary. I think she'd come as far as she could, and she's not likely to win a championship anytime soon, so they needed to evolve her in some way. Works for me. The whole point of this is not for her per se. The point of this is, of course, to help Roxanne in her development, give her someone to work with. It's very much an Io Shirai, Candice LeRae moment. Noob says, this week's Raw is good. However, the team of Asuka and Alexa is very interesting. It seems like they don't really know what to do with Alexa Bliss right now, so they're just sort of throwing her on TV and seeing what they can do with it. I don't mind the idea of Alexa and Asuka as a team. I would like them to be competing for a tag team championship. That'd be great. I wonder if they could debut some tag team championships for the women. I swear they used to have some. Maybe I'm just being dense. I forget. Spider-Boss says Sasha asking $30,000 to appear at non-wrestling events. This is as per a report from Fightful Paywall. She's worth every penny. There's been a huge discourse about this. Just a very confusing discourse. More on that story later. David Leary says, what's going on with the NXT Women's Tag Titles now they had Cora turn on Roxanne? Well, what's happening is that they're losing them relatively short order to continue the feud. What happens with them? We'll actually have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see. Alicia Miller says, any Naomi updates? It's difficult to say with Naomi because, to be blunt, journalists have not been chasing this, so I feel that they should. Naomi has turned down a contract offer. Her contract was not just for another 2 months, but it is for a little while longer, and the WWE are trying to get her to sign a new deal. She is refusing. Naomi is basically just going to sit out the rest of her contract if the WWE allow her to, because the WWE don't plan to let her, they plan to freeze her contract if she refuses to come into work. To my knowledge, Naomi has not yet sought legal advice as to the validity of that, whereas Sasha Banks, as we know, has. Spider-Boss says, your thoughts on Liverpool's performance on the friendly match against Man United? Not great. Not a great start. Man United deserved it, absolutely. They earned it. They really pushed hard, and I was really impressed by the pressing that they did. It's not something they're known for at the moment. But what I will say is that I don't think it's indicative of the season to come. The game against Crystal Palace was a bit more of a first team, and I think that's more telling, but at the same time it was against weaker opposition. That said, I think it's also very, very telling that this is what Man United could be without Cristiano Ronaldo and Harry Maguire. It's funny how much better they were. Hector says, Tom, so you say more live sex celebrations aren't good for sponsors and the young viewers. Funnily enough, Hector, that is exactly what I'm saying. And I do feel that this information getting out will wind up those sponsors to the point that they may be getting in touch with the networks. Of course, this means that they're no longer thinking about, oh, all those accusations against Vince McMahon. Pardon me. It means that they're no longer thinking about the accusations against Vince McMahon, but we'll see how that plays out. Jay Quick says, who do you think decided to put the title on Liv? Are you surprised they have Liv beat Ronda? The book stops with Vince. Like, he's the head of creative. The book stops there. Now, it's certainly not impossible that other people were pitching it and putting it forward and pushing for it. As I mentioned, a large number of people were backing Liv Morgan to management, but it ultimately comes down to Vince. Thank you, everybody, for the hype train. I really do appreciate that. We got a choo-choo from Michael, which is always quite fun. Christoph says, hi, Tom. Good to see you. Brock really is fun these days. He is. I never thought he'd work as a good guy, and yet here we are. Hypnosis Pro says, what's with these pyro botches? Brock started talking to the camera afterwards. Yeah, he went a bit John Cena, didn't he? Which I don't hate. I don't hate it. Spider-Boss says, Cora Jade attacking Roxanne Perez on Tuesday gave me some Triple H versus HBK 2002 vibes. It didn't for me, mostly on the basis that they'd been teaming for a very short amount of time and hadn't been teaming for, let's say, 7-8 years beforehand. So, slightly different for me. Larkman Welcome says, with how commentary is talking about Alexa, seems they were teasing a heel turn. They can't seem to decide what to do with Alexa. They're always back and forth. Now, not to the level of Lacey Evans at the moment, but when she was a heel, they wanted to turn her face. Now she's a face, they want to turn her heel. They just can't work it out. Simon says, who do you see beating Mandy Rose for the NXT Women's Championship? I still think it's going to be Roxanne. That just makes the most sense to me. Having her vanquish Cora Jade. Cora Jade then gets called up around SummerSlam, and then we move into the definitive program where Roxanne beats Mandy Rose. Sean says, I think either Toxic win the tag belts back or a different team wins them like KC2 or Tatum and Ivy. I'd like it to be KC2 on the basis that I think it's time for that call-up. Like, I think it's long overdue time for that call-up. But at the same time, I wouldn't mind them being called up with all 3 belts. Ghost says, where's Veer? We saw more of him when he was coming than what we saw when he reached his final destination. Well, that's it. He was coming, then he came, and now he has come and gone. You know what happens after he comes? Falls asleep. Simon says, your thoughts on Chelsea signing Koulibaly from Napoli instead of Ake, who is staying at City? I think they needed someone. I think they needed multiple people. And I think they've got a good deal, to be honest. Ake was an option, and certainly it's an option if you're going to go back free, but I don't necessarily think they're going to. Spider-Boss, I did talk about that one. Sean says, I also think Cora's heel turn was predictable. Should have been shocking. No one would have expected Io or Zoe to have attacked Roxanne. They would have done if they were in a tag team with her. Also, the news came out via Dave Meltzer that Cora Jade was going to turn heel before it actually happened. Maybe that's why it felt a bit predictable, because it was spoiled. Christoph says, I know we disagree on this, but NXT is pretty much unwatchable by now. Used to be my favourite. Always surprised when I hear you say Triple H is still in control. Could not have told from watching. He is indeed still in control. However, he does have a new mandate. You've got to get people prepared to be called up to the main roster. NXT as it was failing at that. There is absolutely no debating that point. They were failing, and it's one of the main reasons that so many people came up to the main roster and immediately lost out and were not able to hit the ground running. Hector says on NXT, Joe Gacy said he'd reveal the identity of the Dyad next week. Since PWInsider reported that the Grizzled Young Vets are being rebranded, James Drake will now be known as Jagger Reed. That gives him the name Rip Fowler. This upsets me. I love Liverpool's number one. Well, to be fair, Fowler. Spider-Boss says Brock making pig jokes on live TV is funny, always. The man knows humour. He really does. Dimitar thinks it's going to be a Nikita. No, it's an Italian. Yes, Christoph, I am actually currently doing something with paper while streaming. It's an OCD habit. I essentially take bits of paper and then rip them up into lots of little bits of paper. I can't help it. I do apologise if it's coming through a bit too loud. I do apologise for that. It's an OCD habit. I'm a little tense at the moment, and that's why I'm doing it. That's all it is. OCD comes and goes, and I manage it however I can. Sean says, I see the Fightful report was wrong about someone stealing Lily. To be fair, Sean, they always do say, it's not guaranteed. Here are all your spoilers. By the way, they might not be true. They do always say that. Card subject to change and all that jazz. Sean says, why doesn't Liv have her side plates yet? Because they have been on the road the entire time. They've not gone back to a location in which they can reaffix them. Essentially, they're still getting them made. She wasn't the original planned winner. Hypnosis Bro says, can I be honest about the Cora turn? Absolutely, mate. I think they rushed the whodunit angle. Should have built the suspense for the reveal. Well, with an attack in the parking lot, you expect a Aleister Black type thing. We didn't quite get that. And that is a shame. Bailey says, Tom, any idea how long Alexa's contract is? Among the roster, I think she's the next to consider offers outside WWE. She's been receiving a number of offers from outside the WWE. The WWE have been agreeing to quite a few of them. And she's been going out there and making things happen. I know she was on I believe it was some sort of game show. We don't get it over here. Recently with her husband. So that's quite an option. As regards the contract, I'm not sure. I don't believe Alexa Bliss's contract is particularly public knowledge. She doesn't want it announced. So the WWE don't want it announced either. It should run for another few years. Razar says, do you think there will be NXT call-ups in the draft? Yes, I do. I also think we're looking at potential call-ups after SummerSlam. We'll wait and see how that plays out. Simon says, personally, I really love watching and enjoy NXT. I really enjoy Roxanne, Cora, Tiffany Stratton's work. I think the show has a really good pacing and structure to it. I still think it's a good show. I really do, but NXT really did survive best when it was just a 1 hour. It's a lot bigger roster, there's a lot more pressure on it. I still enjoy watching it, I just watch it rarely. Christoph says, no problem, I think it's kind of sweet. Fair enough, mate, whatever works for you. D. Freeman says, if NXT was failing to get people ready for the main roster, then Vince has been failing for years as a booker alone. Vince does not book NXT. Vince essentially has handed the characters from NXT and was unable to do much with them because they weren't fully rounded personalities. For example, Nikki Cross has had 3 distinct character changes since coming to the main roster. Her character in NXT is always the best example for me. Her character in NXT was crazy. That was it. That was all they had to work with. She came up to the main roster, people didn't care because the character was crazy. You have to do at least a little bit more than that, but that's all they had. She's crazy. It's a two-way street. It's not just down to Vince and the creative team. to redefine the characters. It's also down to NXT to get them prepared for the touring, to get them prepared to cut the same promos that are consistent with a fully rounded character instead of the 5-10 second ones they often get in NXT. There's a lot more to do involved. Yes, Sean, she'll have them soon. Simon says, I thought Christian's heel work this week against the Varsity Blondes. I thought it was very lackluster this week. Didn't see it, couldn't really say. Sean says, SmackDown doesn't have very many baby faces on their roster. Not at the moment, no. However, a reshuffle is coming, and it just means they have more options for Drew, for the New Day, and so on and so forth. We may be seeing an impending face turn for Sheamus, after all, and I think I'd be excited by that. Brandon says, I know you've said previously you believe Becky will go babyface when in the issue feuds with Ronda at Mania, but do you think Seth will go babyface anytime soon, or are we still a while away from seeing that with him? I think we're still a while away from that. That said, the fans seem to want to turn him a bit more face. If he's feuding with Roman, he'll get the face turn. However, if he's feuding with Cody, he'll stay heel. It really, for Rollins, does depend on who he's feuding against. If you're enjoying the show so far, please do remember to hit that thumbs up on YouTube. That like button makes a really big difference. Subscribe if you haven't already. We are currently on, I believe it's 1,238 subscribers. Let's find out. I want to make sure I've got the exact number, because obviously we are still growing, and that's very important. 1238. Yes, we're on 1,238 subscribers. Every little does help, but of course it means you'll be notified every time we go live once again. Christoph says, hope you're doing well despite feeling a little tense, as he said. Remember, you're among friends here. Thank you, Christoph. I appreciate that, and I definitely believe that. We have a really good crowd of people here that are really welcoming to new people. They're very reassuring to me. You guys are fantastic, and I really do appreciate the support, the friendship that so many of you have shown me. It's made a big difference. It really has in some dark times. This is just OCD flare-up. It happens. My brain just decides so I'm just keeping it calm and keeping myself calm, and it's all going great. I did not know Miz was there also, Sean. Thank you for the heads up. Go says, Cody Rhodes revealed in an interview busted open radio that he almost hemorrhaged to loss of blood during surgery, as well as a documentary being in the works. What a man indeed. If you can nearly die and then not, what a man. What a man. The documentary has not surprised me at all, though. They really want to take advantage of the fact that they have Cody Rhodes, because why not? They have Cody Rhodes. Thank you very much. Oh, I've done a thing. Have I done a thing? I've not done a thing. All is well. I've not done a thing. Thank you very much, D. Freeman. Stop doing that. Thank you very much, D. Freeman, for 5 gifted subs. Oh, that's gone wrong. There it is. I did do a thing. There it is. Thank you very much, D. Freeman, for 5 gifted subs going to the community. Thank you very much. It's a gifted sub to P. Wendell, to Kuro, to Get the Tables, to Spider Boss, and to Corey. I very much do appreciate that. It really does make a big difference to what we're trying to do here, even though it is it's financial support, obviously, for which I very much appreciate as well. But also the more active people are and engaged in the chat, and the more engaged in the giving, as it were, the more we are advertised by Twitch and by YouTube as well. So I do want to say a massive thank you for that. Simon says, I think Alexa deserves a lot better. She's such a huge megastar, just wish the WWE could see it. She hasn't held a singles world title since 2018. Yeah, because the fans turned on her heavily, mate. This is not the WWE's fault. Fans were screaming for something else. They were sick of Alexa. They wanted her to stop being pushed. The WWE gave them that. And of course, as usual, absence makes the heart grow fonder. I get what you're saying, D. Freeman. That does make sense. When it comes to the main roster, that is his responsibility. So yeah, it's a two-way street. We'll see, he certainly has a part in it. Hypnosis Bro says, I miss Randy Orton. Riddle is fine, but he ain't no Randy. Also, Bobby chopping Riddle, only for him to fall, was hilarious when they won. Nelson says, do you think there's a possibility of Vince losing his creative control power? Not at this point, no. He would need to be fired, and no one's really in a position to fire him right now. No updates on that one, Simon, as regards Adam Cole or MJF. Negotiations still ongoing as regards MJF. Let's just say it's not going great so far. Steve Freeman says, all his top guys have been NXT product. They have now, yes, we've reached that point. The exception of Ronda Rousey, I think she's the only one. But everyone else has spent at least some time in NXT at this point. I think Randy Orton, Brock Lesnar, Ronda Rousey, I think that's it. I think that's the entire collection of people who haven't been through... Oh, Dominic. Edge. AJ. There's actually quite a few. Simon says Sheamus needs to bring back his old SS Dick theme song from 2012 Babyface World Title Run. Rather just have him turn face first, but we'll see how it goes. Connor says hello, Tom. Hello, Connor. And Hector says, here's a question for you, Tom. How do you explain talent that were over in NXT? There's no scenario where I can be convinced that Alistair, Andrade, Ricochet and the like wasn't ready for the main roster. At the time, NXT was a closed shop. It was the same people there week in, week out. People were watching it who'd already decided that it was worth watching. It was a very different scenario. Also at the time, NXT felt like an indie promotion. For example, people in the crowd were chanting NXT, NXT, NXT. Have you ever heard anyone chant WWE, WWE, WWE? People got popular in NXT, firstly because they were damn good, secondly, in spite of WWE. The idea was, okay, you've got Roman, we've got Aleister Black. Andrade's our guy. There was a lot more personalisation. Then you get to the main roster where Andrade is trying to cut a promo and 15,000 people are saying, what? 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 Essentially, your main roster fans are more dickish than your NXT fans. B-School Nick, welcome mate. Saying I remember when less than 100, Tom. Indeed, indeed. We're very close to, and we have been for a while, but we're not really focused on Twitch. We're very close to the 500 point on Twitch at the moment. And yeah, you definitely were here back during the days when we had less than 100. Sean says, I love how EO shut down that report by Meltzer. Yep, a lot of people have been doing that recently. Natalia certainly has been shutting down a couple of reports as well. And of course, there was a member of FTR, I still can't remember which one it was, that shut down a Fightful report as well. Quite a lot going on there. Wrestler Fan says, will there be 10 or more matches for SummerSlam? No, I believe 10 will be the cap. I'm expecting 9 personally. Spider-Boss says, I'm surprised that WWE didn't know what to do with Alexa since her return. It just seems like they're still trying to work out the details, but it's been a while now. That said, a lot of things have changed. Things with Liv Morgan, things with Becky Lynch, things with Naomi, who was planned to be in a championship picture. So there's a lot of change going on, and I do feel Alexa Bliss is the one who's kind of missing out. Same with Rhea Ripley being injured. Sean says Smackdown only has 4 babyface women on the roster. True, hopefully that's where Bayley goes. And Hypnosis Bro says, is AEW dropping the ball with the MJF work, shoot, McWork, shooty stuff? Feel out of all the Vince, Sasha and injury news derailed it. News in general works too quickly. The moment MJF returns, if he returns, it'll be all remembered again. Spider-Boss says, I'm still wondering why Andrade couldn't make it on the main roster of WWE. He was a great wrestler. I couldn't tell you a damn thing about his character. Couldn't tell you a damn thing. Couldn't tell you why he was a heel. Couldn't tell you a damn thing. Could tell you that Zelina Vega was great. Couldn't tell you a damn thing about Andrade. Brandon says, did you see Ric Flair's tweet on Chris Jericho saying he was a poor man's Shawn Michaels? I did not, because I could not give the slightest of shits what Ric Flair thinks. Johnny Mendes says, hi Tom, hope you're good mate. Just joined the stream, so sorry if this has already been said. What's the news on the TV-14 situation? That has already been said. That was in the first couple of minutes of the show. By all means, pop back at the end and check that out. I laid out who this is coming from, why this is happening, and the likelihood of it actually happening. Michael says, Naomi's friend said the checks are still cashing, so at least Naomi must still be getting paid. Indeed, indeed. I think Sasha Banks has won that particular argument. Kervin says, rumours said Roman Reigns probably not going to be at Extreme Rules 2022. Is this just because he's not on the poster? No, I don't think he will be, because he'll be in Saudi Arabia and then he'll be in the UK, so they'll spread it out. Pardon me. But is this just because he's not on the poster? Alyssa, welcome. Checked out your YouTube channel a little while ago. By a little while, I mean like Monday. Says no Cody Rhodes, The Rock, John Cena. Be shit WrestleMania this year. Skip these years. Who cares? WrestleMania about major big name stars. Not interested. WrestleMania can finally take off Roman Reigns. He's boring. Doesn't bring anything to me. So major big name stars such as Roman Reigns, you're not interested. Would you like them to bring back Goldberg? Also, you can't say no Cody Rhodes. He is due to be back by WrestleMania. Gotcha, Simon. Hypnosis Bro says, what happened to Athena? Haven't seen her in a long time. Guess she got irrelevant again. Book the division better, Tony. We don't know. There's a number of different people who appear and then disappear in AEW programming. We tend to hear when they return that, oh yeah, it's not really something that we should be talking about. I get that level of protection from Tony Khan. I don't know if she's injured or having any sort of family situation. So I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and say it's not down to booking. Alex, I do, mate. Says, do you think MJF is perfect for TV-14 WWE? I do. I absolutely do. As I think is Kevin Owens. Kevin says, no update about Natalya. No update to tell. There's no problem when it comes to Natalya. The WWE are perfectly happy with the work she's doing, and the altercation between her and Liv has been dealt with. There is nothing else. Bailey says, part of NXT's struggle is the presentation. The announced team is not as compelling as it once was. You want Maro, didn't you? You want Maro. D. Freeman says, what report did EO shut down? She shut down a Dave Meltzer report stating that she's going to be leaving. Jaden Sasha news is still incoming. I just need to catch up with the chat. It'll be 5 minutes at most. Hypnosis Bro says, I'm debating watching SmackDown because I feel like it's a repeat of a repeat of a repeat of a repeat of a repeat. You're not wrong, but isn't that WWE in general at the moment? Alex says, there is being theory on the vignettes that Edge is summoning the Fiend. Edge is not summoning the Fiend. There is no summoning of the Fiend. Bray Wyatt is not under contract with the WWE. Bray Wyatt is not involved in any vignettes. It's just Edge. Just Edge. Simon says, I'm just really enjoying seeing Alexa on TV. My second long-time favourite after Sasha. Kevin says, I'm going to be honest, WWE really don't need TV-14. They need to make the show good and make new stars. Raw's been good recently, I will say that. Hypnosis Bro says, what do you think of the Jericho Painmaker gimmick? Don't like it at all, but AEW fans seem to love it. It was good in New Japan. I enjoyed it in New Japan. Jaden says, will Bayley keep the role model gimmick? Don't see how Bayley can become a face again. Very easily. She turns up and the crowd goes, yeah, Bayley! That is that simple. Sean says, happy birthday to Anna J. Happy birthday, Anna J. And Michael says, Athena was just on Dynamite with a backstage promo. Has a match on Rampage tonight. Well, there you go then. Question answered. Thank you, guys. Alexis is asking whether TVPG or TV-14 Fiend is better. I have no idea. By the end of the Fiend's run, I didn't really enjoy it. In fact, not a lot of people did. They hated the Fiend at WrestleMania against Randy Orton. So it's funny how now that he's gone, people are really rose-tinted glasses the whole thing. Nelson says, who do you think the special ref is, Sammy or Sikoa? Sammy. I don't think Solo Sikoa should be anywhere near the Usos at this point in time. And I stand by that. Spider-Boss says, I wonder why Asuka ended losing in a rivalry with Becky. And if you'd like to know why that was, by all means check out my recent SummerSlam preview video, which was uploaded on Wednesday. Hypnosis Bro says, I think the special ref is Riddle, because he's on SmackDown tonight. That would be cheating just in the other direction. Sai, how you doing, mate? Says, hi, Tom and all. Hope you're all good. I have a question about the Vince McMahon allegations. I don't understand how NDAs work. Does the reporting of the details put these settlement papers at risk? No, it doesn't. However, the WWE would need to prove that it is a person with an NDA leaking the information, pardon me, in order to sue that person. Razar says, if you had to guess who's more likely to return to WWE, Sasha or Bray Wyatt? Sasha. It's not even a guess. Hector says, Tom, did you see Tony Khan tweeted that the ref's call is final after Ricky Starks was pinned by Swerve to win the tag titles even though Ricky wasn't a legal man? Wonder how they book this going forwards. They just move on with their lives. There's no controversy. There's no storyline. It's really simple. Yep, the wrong man ended up being involved in the pin. They're all going to get on with their lives and just act like it never happened. Alyssa says, my opinion, Bloodline storyline not more interesting than the Shield storyline. It's different though. You can have both of them. We have both. That's a wonderful, wonderful thing. Spider-Boss says, your thoughts on the rivalry between Ray and Dominic versus Judgment Day? I'm enjoying it. Gives Judgment Day something new to work with. And it's just a shame that it's taken so long to get there. It's not feeling as impactful without Edge. So I'm looking forward for to Edge being back. No worries, Si. Appreciate you asking the question. Johnny says, with the TV-14 news, I would like to hear your personal opinion on if you think WWE pulls the trigger and if you want to see it. Well, you will be able to do that. It was right at the beginning of the stream. By all means, dip back at the end there. I did explain exactly what I thought of it, whether it was going to happen, who was behind it, and so on. Gnosis Pro says, did you like Crispy Fiend? I miss Early Stage Fiend. Early Stage Fiend for me, but I think after the Finn Balor match, it started to go downhill and it never recovered. Never recovered. Absolutely did not happen. Not even close. Right. So, Sasha Banks. There is a reason that Sasha Banks is booking non-wrestling gigs, and she's doing it under the name Mercedes Varnado. In fact, the advertising for these events does not specifically mention the WWE. There's a reason for this. These bookings and the subsequent announcement on Fightful behind the paywall that she was not taking wrestling bookings until January 1st are part of a plan to, let's just say, push the WWE. They are trying to call the WWE's bluff. The WWE have said to Naomi and Sasha Banks, you cannot do anything else without WWE permission while you are under WWE contract. Sasha Banks, if anything, this seems to confirm, is still under WWE contract because she is not using the name Sasha Banks. She's not mentioning the WWE involvement. The WWE naturally still has the rights to the name Sasha Banks, or at least seems to at this point in time, so she would not be able to do so. But you can always say former WWE superstar. Sasha Banks has asked them not to mention WWE. Now, this seems like a litmus test, knowing that what comes next is Mandalorian. Mercedes Varnado is not Sasha Banks. Anything done under the name of Mercedes Varnado goes to the bibliography and the filmography of Mercedes Varnado. This is a hint as to the next steps. The next steps do not seem to involve wrestling, at least for this point in time. Sasha Banks, while under WWE contract, has been offered a number of high-profile acting roles, and the expectation is that she's just about ready to start taking them. We are going to see the name Mercedes Varnado in a lot more places. Meanwhile, the WWE will look to take action against the wrestler herself, regardless of the name she uses, if there is any mention of the name Sasha Banks and any mention of the WWE. She is calling their bluff. It is up to them to make their call afterwards. From what I can tell, she may be winning this one. What that means, of course, is that we are very unlikely to see her on WWE programming again. But never say never. After all, Vince McMahon forgives a lot of people if they rub him the right way. Hypnosis Bro says, is Carmella going to be involved in the Raw Women's title, or will we get Carmella Becky winner faces Bianca? Carmella looks like she wants to still be involved. There is still a storyline there, but the plan at the moment is Becky Bianca. Becky winning over Asuka seems to indicate this is a feud that's coming, a return to Becky versus Bianca. My suspicion is that Becky vanquishes Carmella much as she has done in the past, and before you know it, there's your SummerSlam match. Ghost says, WWE social media sites did state we will find out the special guest ref for the Undisputed Tag Team title match at SummerSlam. Do you think the Solo Sikoa call-up is happening, or will it be someone else? I suspect it will be someone else. We've obviously heard a lot of different things and reports about Solo Sikoa coming up. We also know that everyone in wrestling media has at some point been wrong. We also know that you have situations like has happened with Andrew Zarian yesterday. WWE is going TV-14 WWE might not be going TV-14. WWE aren't going TV-14 in the matter of like an hour. Like, things do change. Alex says, wait, if Edge returns, how in the hell will Edge compete in a handicap match versus Balor and Priest? Easy. He'll just do it. He'll do it. Like, I don't know why you think that's the match going to happen. I think it'll just be a straight one-on-one between Balor and Edge personally, but we'll see. Hypnosis Pro says, is Sasha all but gone? Yeah, pretty much. She literally has her legal team trying to find a way out of her contract. I think it's pretty clear that she does not want to be there and has no intention of returning. Brandon says, is Dominic turning on Ray set in stone at WWE? It is not at this point in time. That said, of course, it doesn't automatically mean that it's not going to happen either. It's one of those, it's in a bit of flux. That's the storyline that they're planning. It just doesn't mean that they're going to pull the trigger. Spider-Boss says, to me, still with Andrade couldn't make it in the main roster of WWE. Can you define for me Andrade's main roster character, Spider-Boss? Just if you can let me know the character, and then we can try and pick it apart a little bit and we work out how it goes. Alyssa says, do you want to see Vince McMahon out of power? Tom deserve out power. I don't think I deserve out power. When it comes to out power, that's obviously that's like, you know, a power bottom. You know, sometimes you got to generate all the power from the outside. We as fans often try to be the ones that generate all the power from outside. Sean says, funny how you said everyone hated The Fiend when he faced Randy Orton. Randy was a heel in that storyline. Yeah, also, no. Kevin says, 100% for sure, everybody going to ask Mercedes, she fired from WWE. Everyone is going to ask that question. But hey, that's what we've got, and she'll have a stock response ready and waiting. As I've said, the WWE are going to take action if she mentions them. Michael says that they're not allowed to do signings outside of WWE now. Under the current terms of their contract, they can only do WWE-sponsored signings. They can't do sponsors from outside of that. You are not wrong, Connor. You are not wrong. Sean, I don't know. I don't think we'll see a triple threat, but that doesn't mean we're not going to. Yeah, Simon, my expectation is that Sasha will take her first pro wrestling booking in 29-23. Spider-Boss says, my question is, how will the end the negotiations between Sasha and WWE? Great question. Bailey says, when you mentioned Sasha doing a non-WWE signing, didn't Mark Calloway schedule something similar a year or two ago and WWE then make amends? That does happen. It very much does happen. The WWE basically signed Mark Calloway to a new contract quite recently in order to make sure that he does not... What's going on with my nose in a minute? Sorry, guys. In order to make sure that he is not making money without them getting a cut. King Xander says, Mercedes Venado does not need Vince McMahon's forgiveness. Nobody does. Nobody ever did. And Johnny says, is the news that USA Network have called for the change in rating false? Where did that news come from, Johnny? I haven't seen that personally. What's his source? Hypnosis Bro says, I think it'll be Edge and Ray versus JD at SummerSlam. JD? John Dorian? We're watching Scrubs. D. Freeman says, with knowing a little bit about the independent contractor law, being that I worked under that in the US for 10 years, don't think Sasha, Naomi, nor anyone else will win a lawsuit about those laws or ways. Because in the past 6 years, the US have been going towards that, and Republicans pushing for that and loving that law. They will never win that. Very true. The law is not set up to help WWE employees. That's why we still can't confirm whether Sasha Banks has gotten out of a contract or not. Alyssa thinks Randy Orton and John Cena had a better rivalries than Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar. I think both of them are equally good and bad in the fact that they've delivered some good matches and we've seen way too much of them. Simon says, what do you think the Pro Wrestling Convention Sasha is maybe getting booked for? Well, Mike Johnson... Sorry, guys. Something is going on in my throat. What Mike Johnson of PWInsider reported yesterday. Ask Mike Johnson. I have no idea what he is reporting. Hector says, I'm just wondering why Orton isn't in jail. Didn't he commit arson? Well, technically the Fiend isn't a real person. It is an ethereal being and sort of a god. So, Hypnosis Pro says, I'm going to miss Sasha, to be honest. I think she's the best female wrestler the WWE have had. Johnny says, Meltzer said USA Network and not WWE have called for the change in rating. The internal memo at USA confirms that apparently. The USA do have some scheduling power. I mean, they made the 24/7 title, but the USA Network, to my knowledge, have not called for this. The USA Network, to my knowledge, have not asked to go TV-14. Chad says, it makes sense if WWE becomes TV-14 when Vince has been XXX for many, many, many years. He actually is one of the main reasons it's not TV-14. He likes PG programming. Great question there, Simon. Sean says, imagine if Sasha asked for 30 grand to come back to WWE, then they'd pay it. 30 grand is nothing to the WWE. Absolutely nothing. She's on way more than that at the moment. Girl says, Tom, you should apply to be a maximum male model, just saying. I was tempted just because I think it will be really funny. I just think it would be really, really funny, but we are where we are. Spider Boss says, can WWE block Sasha for success in Hollywood? Potentially, but that's why there's a legal challenge. A lot comes down to what happens with this legal challenge. A lot. And any questions about what might happen with the legal challenge or what might happen as a result of the legal challenge, it is not possible to answer. That's why I'm not doing it. Hypnosis Bro says, USA made the 24/7 title. No wonder WWE didn't give an S about it. Yeah. No, that's spot on. Yep. Alyssa, once again, not asking that question either. My job is not to come on here and say this and say that. I do not know whether these accusations are true. I don't. You don't. Nobody does. There is not enough information has come out in order to say definitively whether this is true or not. With this in mind, I can't sit here and say, well, I don't know if he did it, but fire him anyway. Bit cancel culture-ish, you know? You know? No, don't get me wrong. If any point compelling evidence comes out that makes me believe that he did do this, yeah, get rid of him on the spot. But I do believe in innocent until proven guilty, and that means sometimes you have to let an investigation run its course. Basically, let's get proof first. Kervin says, I wish AEW really cared about Thunder Rosa's title reign. Thunderstorms. I mean, I also like Thunderstorms, that's fair. Sean says, I've seen many saying they want Duke Hudson to be a part of Maximum Male Models. Well, to my knowledge, he's quite attractive. You could call him Mudson. And it could be ironic. Simon, we don't even know if Sasha has been officially released. You keep asking questions based on assumptions. You have to answer the first question before you answer the third question. Stop asking the third question. Hector says, Tom, is there a reason why Fox wouldn't be mentioned in this TV-14 report and just USA? That just seems odd. There is indeed a reason for that. Fox has not been consulted at this point in time. Also, USA are more likely to be annoyed by it, to my knowledge. Gavin says, if WWE brings back TV-14, maybe the Diva's coming back. Or maybe we just get Apollo Crews stripped naked on TV. Let's not immediately assume it's all going to be women. Also, there are still divas in the WWE. That's Carmella's character. She's a diva. There's nothing wrong with a diva. It's just another wrestling character. Hypnosis Pro says, I don't believe it will get Roman Rock at WrestleMania. I just feel he'll be busy filming. Reverse Psychology hopefully does show up. We'll see how that plays out. D. Freeman says, do we really know that Sasha has officially made a legal challenge since we haven't seen any court filings, which will be publicly knowledge for everyone? Or is it being said because reports said she spoke with a legal team? People do that all the time, doesn't mean they're challenging anything. As I've reported here, Sasha Banks has had her legal team going through, literally with a fine-tooth comb, every detail of her contract, trying to find a way to get her out of it. I reported that. Shortly afterwards, it was confirmed by a number of different wrestling journalists. I shed more light on it in the time that's come, and at this point, I simply don't have an update beyond what I've already been able to share. We'll see how it plays out, but to my knowledge, Sasha Banks has not been released as of yet, and we'll see whether or not she's able to get out of her deal. But right now, she's trying to call their bluff. Connecting people through wrestling says, glad to see people tuning in. Indeed, mate. I know you dip in and out. I've seen you here quite often, but you'll dip in and out. I've seen you at shows quite a bit. But it must be It's always nice to me to, if I pop in on a show like 3 months ago and they've had 20 viewers, then I pop in, they've got 30 viewers. I always feel really proud for them. So it must be quite nice. Like, I've got 46 viewers here at the moment and then 19 likes. Give us a thumbs up, guys. Would appreciate it. So it must be nice, seeing that grow. I've seen it grow and I feel really good about it. Welcome, mate. Spider-Boss says, Sasha fans keep assuming she got released. There is no official statement. Nothing official at all. Apollo's an attractive man, Kervin. Don't know what you're laughing at. Pro Wrestling Go says, good evening all. Sorry I'm late to the show. Don't need to be sorry. But I know Tom Colohue has been killing it as always. Much love to you all and many blessings and high spots. That's a lovely message there, Go. Appreciate that. Connecting People says, aloha from the very warm Las Vegas. So my first bit of mushy peas and curry gravy with my fish and chips yesterday at a place called the Codfather. We do it better. Here in Blackpool, we are the fish and chip capital of the world. But I hope you enjoyed it. Johnny says, to be honest, I don't even think TV-14 would make a massive difference. Even if WWE did it, I can't see them pushing the envelope as sponsors and TV deals are at stake. They are. They absolutely are. Even if it was the USA Network pushing this, USA Network are the ones more likely to lose sponsorship. I think it's more likely that, for example, the final hour is TV-14. Much like they did with the War Zone way back in '98. Hector says, Tom, are you excited for SmackDown? Yeah, I want to see Triple M again. Spider-Boss, once again, I cannot possibly answer that question. I don't know Sasha Banks personally. I haven't had a sit-down conversation with her to say what's going to happen next. I've shared what I can. That is an impossible question. Hypnosis Bro says, I'm still waiting on Brock bringing back the Brock lock and shooting star. You'll never see that shooting star again. Never, indeed. And Spider-Boss says, I hope to see Roman tonight on SmackDown. Well, I believe you will. Sean says, you've been saying you'd like to see Liv Morgan versus Mandy Rose. I have, that's true. Mandy did say on the bump that her and Liv are very close. Says she absolutely deserves the moment she is getting now. Yeah, that's the main reason I said that, because I'm fully aware that they are close. And I just think the evolution that their characters have had lends itself to that as a feud. Thank you so kindly, Connecting People Through Wrestling, with the super chat and says, congrats on the growth. Thank you very much for that generosity. I do appreciate it. We've been monetized off and on in the end because of some good old-fashioned YouTube drama. We've been monetized since February and we've been doing extremely well since. So thank you kindly, Connecting People Through Wrestling, for that super chat. I always appreciate it. Alyssa says, hate WrestleMania posters this year. Okay, so you just hate all the top stars then. Cool. Simon says, do you think Tony Khan offers Sasha a mega money deal? I think it'd be dumb not to if she became available. If he does it now, it's called tampering and he'll be sued. Spider-Boss says, does Theory keep getting involved in Roman segments? Probably. They've got to tease the idea that he's going to cash in at SummerSlam in order to keep that match exciting. And that is our show. We are going to wrap up here. It's 2 minutes to the hour and Tom Colohue, bless him, is a little bit tired. So I'm going to have a nap before SmackDown. I'll see you all in 2 hours. Well, hopefully all, as many of you as come along, for a full SmackDown watch party. I look forward to seeing you all there. Once again, I've said all. Look forward to seeing as many of you as come along there. But until then, all I will say, as always, is that I've been Tom Colohue. You've been fantastic. And I will see you all very soon.